The Martian surface, a sprawling expanse of rust-coloured dust and jagged rocks, had always been a source of intrigue for humankind. For decades, NASA's rovers had roamed the barren land, sending back images of ancient riverbeds and hints of a once wet planet. But it was not until the recent launch of the Ares 7 mission that they stumbled upon something wholly unexpected. Commander Rachel Morgan, the mission's lead scientist, had been tasked with analysing data from the Curiosity rover when an anomaly flickered on her screen, an unmistakable distortion that did not belong to the landscape. The shape was geometric, almost circular, and emitted a faint luminescence that pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of an unknown entity. The Curiosity rover, in its relentless quest for knowledge, had captured images of what appeared to be a portal, a shimmering doorway suspended against the backdrop of an ancient Martian canyon. "Commander Morgan, you need to see this," said Dr. Harold Jennings, the mission's geologist, his voice barely containing the tremor of excitement. He had called her into the command center where a crowd of scientists stared at the massive monitor, eyes wide, mouths agape. "What am I looking at?" Rachel asked, her brows knitting together in disbelief as she studied the images flickering across the screen. Dr. Jennings pointed to the footage captured by the rover's camera. "This is the entrance to a cave we thought we found, but this is unlike anything we've seen before. The structure appears artificially made. It's emitting energy signatures we can't identify." A hush fell over the room, the only sound the faint hum of computers and the beeping of various instruments. The image was striking. An arched portal framed by jagged rock formations, almost as if carved by ancient hands. As the scientists leaned closer, they began to hypothesize what it could be: a natural formation, a gateway to another dimension, or perhaps a remnant of a lost civilization. Days turned into a blur of meetings, debates, and sleepless nights as the team worked around the clock to process the data. Rachel found herself increasingly drawn to the portal. Something about its glow felt inviting, almost comforting, despite the shivers that ran down her spine whenever she allowed herself to think about it for too long. The following week, NASA announced the discovery to the public, fueling a wave of excitement and speculation. News outlets buzzed with theories ranging from the scientific to the sensational. "Is it a gateway to another world?" they asked. "Could this be evidence of extraterrestrial life?" As the media frenzy escalated, a global conversation ignited about the implications of such a discovery. As anticipation built, Rachel and her team prepared for a critical mission, Ares 8. The goal was to send a manned mission to Mars, specifically to investigate the portal up close. The team was handpicked for their expertise and resilience. They were not just scientists, they were explorers, pioneers on the brink of unraveling the universe's secrets. The day of the launch arrived, and the atmosphere in the control room was electric. Family members embraced their loved ones, and the hum of machinery filled the air as the countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The numbers echoed in Rachel's mind, her heart racing. She thought about the families back on Earth, the weight of their hopes resting on their shoulders, and the mysteries they were about to confront. 3, 2, 1, liftoff. The launch was a cacophony of noise, vibration, and exhilaration. The rocket surged into the sky, leaving a trail of flame and smoke as the control room erupted into cheers. But beneath the surface of the excitement lay an undercurrent of tension, an unshakable feeling that they were embarking on a journey that could change everything. After months of travel through the cold vacuum of space, the crew of Ares 8 finally approached Mars. The planet loomed large in the viewport, its surface a patchwork of reds, browns, and shadows. As they descended, Rachel felt a mix of awe and dread wash over her. This was not merely a landing, it was an entry into the unknown. The spacecraft touched down with a soft thud, and the crew quickly set to work. They donned their spacesuits, the heavy fabric, encasing them like armor, offering protection against the harsh Martian environment. Each member of the team had their role: scientists, engineers, and geologists, united by a shared purpose. But Rachel felt an unshakable weight of responsibility, knowing they were headed towards something that defied explanation. "Everything checks out. We're ready to go," said Jacob, the mission's engineer, his voice crackling through the intercom. Rachel took a deep breath, steadying her nerves as she led the team out of the spacecraft and onto the surface of Mars. The ground beneath her feet was coarse, the dust swirling around them as they stepped onto the alien soil. Rachel paused, allowing the enormity of the moment to wash over her. The portal lay only a few kilometers away, a beacon calling them forward. The team made their way across the rocky terrain, navigating the craggy landscape. As they walked, Rachel scanned the area for signs of life, a lingering sense of being watched creeping over her. Shadows flitted at the edges of her vision, but each time she turned to look, nothing was there, just the desolate expanse of Mars. Finally, they arrived at the site of the portal. The sunlight caught the shimmering surface, refracting colors that danced like fireflies. It was more magnificent up close, yet the beauty was laced with an unease that gnawed at Rachel's gut. "Wow," whispered Mia, the astrobiologist, her voice barely above a breath. "It looks alive." "Alive?" Rachel echoed, arching an eyebrow. "It's just a structure, Mia. We're here to investigate it scientifically, not get carried away by its appearance." As the team set up their equipment, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The air was charged with an unusual energy that sent goosebumps prickling up her arms. While her team focused on calibrating their instruments, Rachel stepped closer to the portal, unable to resist the pull of its glow. Suddenly, the air around the portal shimmered, and a low hum resonated through the ground beneath her feet. She stumbled back, heart racing. "Did you feel that?" she called to her team, but they were too absorbed in their work, adjusting sensors and monitoring data feeds. Rachel approached the portal again, a mixture of dread and fascination compelling her forward. She reached out a hand, hesitating just before making contact. The surface felt warm, like skin, and she gasped as visions flooded her mind. Flickers of distant landscapes, creatures that moved on four legs, and something dark and looming in the shadows. A voice whispered through her consciousness, indistinct but palpable, urging her to step through. "Rachel!" a voice broke through the haze. It was Dr. Jennings, calling her back to reality. "We need you over here." Reluctantly, she pulled her hand away, the warmth lingering on her fingertips. "Coming," she shouted, forcing herself to turn her back on the portal. But as she did, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching her, waiting for her return. The team gathered around the main console, the instruments beeping steadily as they collected data. "The energy readings are off the charts," Jacob said, his eyes wide. "Whatever this thing is, it's emitting a type of energy we've never seen before. It's almost sentient." Rachel swallowed hard, her heart pounding. "We need to be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with." But the allure of the portal was too strong, and as the team worked, Rachel's thoughts kept drifting back to that otherworldly glow. It wasn't just a discovery. It was a mystery begging to be unraveled, and she could feel the strings of fate tightening around her. That night, while her team rested, Rachel lay awake in her sleeping pod, unable to shake the visions that had invaded her mind. The whispered voice called to her, pulling her from sleep. It promised knowledge, power, something beyond comprehension. She could see the portal from her window, its glow casting eerie shadows on the Martian landscape. Unable to resist any longer, Rachel slipped out of her sleeping pod and into her suit, the familiar weight of the fabric feeling like a second skin. The corridors of the spacecraft were dimly lit, and the quiet hum of machinery was the only sound as she made her way to the portal. Each step echoed in her mind, a reminder of the choice she was about to make. As she stepped outside, the cool Martian air hit her face, refreshing yet unsettling. The portal loomed before her, its glow beckoning her closer. Heart pounding, Rachel approached it, her breath hitching in her throat. She could almost hear the soft whisper again urging her to come closer. "What are you waiting for?" she muttered to herself, her voice a harsh whisper against the vast silence of the Martian night. She stepped forward, reaching out a trembling hand, and this time she didn't hesitate. The moment her fingers made contact, a surge of energy coursed through her body, and everything went white. For what felt like an eternity, there was nothing but blinding light. When it faded, Rachel found herself standing in an alien landscape, vibrant and surreal. The sky was a swirling mass of colours, purples, oranges and blues, like an oil painting in motion. Strange flora towered around her, with bioluminescent tendrils stretching toward the sky. In the distance, she could see mountains made of crystalline structures, glimmering in the otherworldly light. "What is this place?" she whispered, awestruck. It felt like a dream, yet everything was palpably real. The air was thick with an intoxicating fragrance, something sweet yet slightly metallic. But then, as she took a step forward, the ground beneath her quivered. The beauty of the landscape morphed into something sinister, as dark shadows flickered at the edges of her vision. Panic surged through her as she realized she was not alone. Suddenly, figures emerged from the shadows, tall, gaunt beings with elongated limbs and eyes that glowed like embers. Their movements were fluid, almost liquid, as they advanced toward her, their expressions unreadable. Rachel's heart raced, and she instinctively stepped back, but the portal was behind her, flickering ominously. "Please," she said, her voice trembling. "I mean no harm, I'm just a scientist." But the words felt inadequate against the weight of their gaze. One of the beings stepped forward, a low hum resonating from its chest. The sound vibrated in Rachel's bones, and she felt a strange connection, as if they were communicating on a level beyond words. Images flooded her mind, visions of destruction, of worlds consumed by darkness, of beings like them fighting against an encroaching evil. She could see it in their eyes, the fear and determination etched into their features. Suddenly, a piercing wail cut through the air, and the beings recoiled, their forms shifting like smoke. Rachel spun around to see a massive shadow looming in the distance, a dark entity that seemed to swallow the light around it. It was monstrous, a formless mass of terror that radiated malevolence. Without thinking, Rachel sprinted toward the portal, the sounds of chaos erupting behind her. The beings were shrieking, their harmonized voices rising in pitch as the darkness closed in. She felt the ground tremble beneath her feet, the air thick with tension as she reached for the portal's shimmering surface. In an instant, she was pulled back into the light, the warmth enveloping her as she stumbled to the ground, gasping for breath. The Martian landscape greeted her, the familiar dust and rocks grounding her in reality. But the experience had changed her. The knowledge she had gained in that alien world pressed heavily on her mind, and she knew she had to share it with her team. Breathless and shaken, Rachel stumbled back to the Ares 8 spacecraft. The moonlit shadows stretched around her as she forced herself to calm down. Her heart raced, each beat echoing the dread of what she had just witnessed. Inside the spacecraft, the glow from the portal was still visible, flickering in the distance as if inviting her to return. Rachel hurried down the corridor, her mind racing, with thoughts of her team. She found them in the control room, engrossed in the data collected during her absence. They looked up, surprise etched on their faces as she entered. "Rachel, you're back!" Mia exclaimed, relief washing over her. But the joy quickly faded as they took in her disheveled appearance. "What happened?" "There's something on the other side of the portal," Rachel stammered, her voice shaking. "I saw beings, intelligent beings, but there's also something dark, something that threatens them." The room fell silent, the gravity of her words sinking in. Jacob exchanged worried glances with the others. "What do you mean, something dark?" he pressed. "I can't explain it fully," Rachel replied, struggling to articulate her experience. "But it's not just a portal, it's a gateway to a battle between light and darkness. They're fighting against something terrible. I think they need our help." Dr. Jennings raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Rachel, this is extraordinary. You went through the portal. What did you expect to find?" "I didn't expect anything. Rachel paused, her chest tightening as she recalled the chaos and fear she felt on the other side. "I felt like I was chosen to witness it. But now, I think it's our responsibility to help them." A tense silence filled the room, and Rachel could see doubt flickering in her teammates' eyes. It was a lot to digest, a tale of interdimensional beings and an encroaching evil. Mia spoke first, her voice steady. "What if we're not equipped to handle whatever this is? We're scientists, not warriors." Rachel felt a surge of frustration but suppressed it. "Then we need to find out more. We need to understand what we're dealing with before it's too late." After a heated discussion, the team agreed to a plan. They would gather data from the portal and analyze the energy signatures more closely. If there was any chance of understanding the darkness that threatened the beings on the other side, they had to try. As they worked, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The whispers from the portal nagged at her, urging her to return. She felt a bond with the beings she had encountered, and their plight weighed heavily on her conscience. The thought of leaving them to face the darkness alone was unbearable. That night, while the others slept, Rachel once again found herself drawn to the portal. The glow was more vibrant than before, pulsating with a rhythm that matched her racing heart. She approached it, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch the shimmering surface. "Please," she whispered into the night, "if you can hear me, show me how to help you." As her fingers made contact, the familiar white light enveloped her, and once again she was thrust into the other world. This time Rachel was prepared for the chaos that awaited her. She emerged into the alien landscape, the vibrant colours swirling around her like a cosmic dance. But there was an urgency in the air, a tension that sent chills racing down her spine. The beings she had encountered before were waiting for her, their forms coalescing from the shadows. This time they appeared more defined, their eyes shining with determination and fear. One stepped forward, its voice resonating like a choir. "You returned. You must help us." "I want to help," Rachel replied, her voice steady despite the rising panic in her chest. "But how?" The being extended a long, spindly arm, pointing toward the horizon where the darkness loomed, a swirling mass of despair. "The shadow comes to consume our realm. You are of the light, and you have the power to aid us. You must join the fight." Rachel's heart raced. The thought of confronting that entity terrified her, but the plight of the beings tugged at her heartstrings. She nodded resolutely. "What do I need to do?" The beings formed a circle around her, their luminescent bodies casting an ethereal glow. "You must harness the light within you," one explained, its voice melodic. "Feel the energy of your world, let it flow through you, and face the shadow." The ground trembled as Rachel steadied herself, feeling the pulse of the universe surrounding her. She closed her eyes and focused on the warmth within her. Memories of home, love, and the bonds of her team. She let that energy rise, illuminating her being, until she felt as though she was glowing, The beings chanted in unison, their voices harmonizing in a haunting melody that resonated deep within her soul. "Embrace the light, let it guide you," they urged, and Rachel felt a surge of power radiating from her core. As the shadows began to advance, dark tendrils snaking across the landscape, Rachel opened her eyes. She could see the darkness pulsating, an entity composed of fear and despair. It loomed larger, tendrils stretching toward her, seeking to extinguish her light. "No!" she shouted, thrusting her hands forward. A beam of brilliant energy erupted from her fingertips, illuminating the darkness with a radiant glow. The tendrils recoiled, shrieking in anguish as the light pushed back against the shadows. The beings cheered, their voices rising in a powerful chorus, and Rachel felt their energy blending with her own. Together they formed a wall of light that surged towards the encroaching darkness, a battle of wills unfolding in the surreal landscape. But the shadow was relentless. It twisted and churned, shifting form as it lashed out at them. Rachel felt her strength waning, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. "I can't hold it much longer," she cried out, fear clawing at her throat. But the beings rallied round her, their determination strengthening her resolve. "You are not alone. We are one," they called, their energy surging through her like a tidal wave. Rachel gritted her teeth, channeling every ounce of her spirit into the fight. "We will not let it win," she declared, her voice rising above the chaos. As she pushed forward, the wall of light surged, engulfing the darkness in a blinding blaze. In that moment, the landscape trembled, and a deafening roar filled the air. The darkness writhed and convulsed, and for a fleeting second, Rachel felt a connection to the essence of the universe, an understanding that transcended time and space. With a final, desperate push, she released the energy within her, unleashing a wave of brilliance that shattered the darkness. As the light engulfed the landscape, Rachel felt herself being pulled back, the sensation both exhilarating and terrifying. She was caught in a whirlwind of colours, sounds and emotions, the remnants of the battle playing out in her mind. The last thing she saw was the shadow dissipating into nothingness, the beings around her celebrating their victory. With a gasp, Rachel stumbled back onto the Martian surface, collapsing to her knees as the cool dust enveloped her. The portal flickered behind her, but she could feel its energy diminishing, a sense of peace washing over the land. "Rachel!" a voice called out, and she looked up to see her team rushing toward her, their faces a mixture of concern and relief. "What happened? You were gone for so long." Rachel took a moment to catch her breath, still feeling the echoes of the battle in her bones. We fought the shadow," she stammered, her voice hoarse. "It's gone, but it was a struggle. They need our help to keep it away." Jacob knelt beside her, concern etched into his features. "You're saying you actually confronted it? You went through the portal and fought?" "Yes," Rachel replied, her voice stronger now. "But it wasn't just me. The beings, whatever they are, they fought alongside me. They're a part of this world, and they're in danger." Mia's eyes widened, realization dawning. "We have to protect them. We can't leave them to face this threat alone." But as they discussed their next steps, a sudden tremor shook the ground, causing Rachel to glance back at the portal. The glow was fading, the energy dissipating into the Martian air. She felt a pang of fear in her chest, an instinctual understanding that the darkness could return at any moment. "We need to seal the portal," Rachel said urgently. "If we don't, the shadow could come back." Dr. Jennings nodded, his expression serious. "But how? We barely understand the portal as it is." Rachel thought back to the energy they had harnessed during the battle, the light that had pushed back against the darkness. "We need to create a barrier, something to contain the energy and prevent the shadow from crossing over." Together they brainstormed, pooling their knowledge and resources to devise a plan. It wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to protect the beings on the other side. They gathered materials from the spacecraft and began to construct a device that would channel the energy from the portal and create a protective barrier. As they worked tirelessly, Rachel felt the weight of their mission pressing on her shoulders. Time was running out, and every passing moment brought a sense of urgency. The glow of the portal continued to wane, flickering erratically as if sensing the impending danger. Finally, after hours of intense labor, they completed the device. A complex array of sensors and energy conduits designed to harness the portal's energy. "It's now or never," Jacob said, his voice taut with anticipation. With a deep breath, Rachel approached the portal once more. She felt a deep connection to the beings on the other side, an understanding that transcended language. She closed her eyes, reaching out to the portal's energy, feeling it pulse against her skin. "We're here to help," she whispered, channeling her energy into the device. The portal flickered, responding to her presence as she felt the warmth of the beings surrounding her once more. As the device began to hum, the portal's glow intensified. Rachel could see shapes moving on the other side, the beings gathering, their eyes shining with hope. But then, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, the darkness swirling like a storm. "It's back!" Mia shouted, and Rachel's heart raced as the shadow emerged, its tendrils reaching out, hungry and relentless. "Now!" Rachel yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. The team activated the device, and a brilliant beam of light shot from it, illuminating the darkness as it surged towards the portal. The tendrils recoiled, screeching in rage as the light collided with them. Rachel felt a surge of power coursing through her, the energy of the beings amplifying her strength. Together they pushed back against the encroaching darkness, their voices merging in a harmonious chant. The device glowed brighter, its energy enveloping the portal, creating a protective barrier that shimmered like a force field. Rachel watched as the shadow writhed and twisted, its form becoming increasingly chaotic as the light consumed it. "We can't let it break through," Jacob urged, determination etched into his features. Rachel nodded, pouring every ounce of her being into the barrier, feeling the bond with the beings strengthening. With one final powerful surge, the light enveloped the darkness completely, and with a deafening roar, the shadow was swallowed into the brilliance. The portal pulsed, its glow steadying as the barrier held firm, sealing off the darkness for good. As the light faded, Rachel collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath. The beings emerged from the shadows, their forms shimmering with gratitude. They surrounded her, their eyes reflecting the remnants of the battle. "You have saved us," one of them said, its voice like music. "You are of the light, and we are forever in your debt." Rachel's heart swelled with relief and gratitude. "We're not just scientists, we're allies now. We will protect each other." As the portal pulsed gently behind them, Rachel knew they had forged an unbreakable bond with the beings on the other side. Together they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but she also understood that this was just the beginning. In the days that followed, the Ares 8 team worked tirelessly to ensure the portal remained secure. Rachel felt a renewed sense of purpose as she collaborated with her team and the beings, sharing knowledge and resources. They had built a bridge between worlds, and it was their responsibility to protect it. The beings revealed more about their realm, sharing their history and the nature of the darkness they had faced. They spoke of ancient prophecies and the cyclical nature of light and shadow, of battles fought and alliances formed. Rachel felt a connection to their struggle, a shared understanding of the fragility of existence. As they worked, Rachel discovered a newfound strength within herself. The experiences had changed her, and she found herself more attuned to the energy around her. She could feel the pulse of the universe, a symbiotic rhythm that resonated deep within her soul. But the threat of the shadow lingered in her mind, a reminder that darkness could return. The team devised plans to strengthen the barrier, ensuring it would withstand any future attacks. They used the device they had created as a focal point, channeling energy from the Martian landscape to reinforce the protective field. Meanwhile, the world back on Earth buzzed with excitement. News of the portal and the battle against the Shadow spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of interest in space exploration and the potential for interdimensional encounters. Scientists and enthusiasts alike were captivated by the story of the brave team that had confronted darkness on another world. But Rachel knew that the true story lay not in the headlines, but in the connections they had forged. As the team worked to secure the portal, they also formed deep bonds with the beings, exchanging knowledge and understanding in a way that transcended language. They learned from each other, sharing their cultures and histories, forging a legacy that would endure beyond their time on Mars. Months passed, and the portal became a hub of collaboration, a place where ideas flowed freely, and the lines between science and mysticism blurred. Rachel felt a sense of purpose as they explored the implications of their discovery. They studied the energy signatures, the properties of the portal, and the interconnectedness of their worlds. But, despite their progress, Rachel remained vigilant. The threat of the Shadow was never far from her mind. She often stood by the portal, gazing into the depths of the unknown, wondering if the darkness would return. The whispers of the beings echoed in her thoughts, a reminder of the fragility of their alliance. One evening, as the Martian sun dipped below the horizon, Rachel gathered the team to discuss their next steps. "We've made incredible progress, but we can't let our guard down," she said, her voice firm. "We need to prepare for the possibility of the Shadow returning." Dr. Jennings nodded. "We should enhance our defenses and study the nature of the portal further. If we can understand its mechanics, we might be able to predict any potential breaches." Mia added, "And we should continue our collaboration with the beings. They have knowledge we can't access on our own." As they strategized, Rachel felt a sense of urgency. They were on the brink of something monumental, and they had to seize the moment. Together, they set to work, each member contributing their expertise and ideas. But as they delved deeper into their studies, Rachel began to sense a shift in the energy around the portal. The once steady glow seemed to pulse erratically, and she felt a growing unease in her gut. It was as if the portal was alive, reacting to an unseen force. Late one night, Rachel found herself unable to sleep. The feeling of dread gnawed at her, and she slipped out of her sleeping pod, drawn to the portal once more. As she approached, the air crackled with tension, and the portal's glow flickered ominously. Suddenly, a chill swept through the chamber, and Rachel gasped as a familiar darkness coalesced before her. The Shadow had returned, its tendrils writhing in the air, hungry and relentless. Panic surged through Rachel as the Shadow loomed before her, dark tendrils stretching toward her with a sinister hunger. She could feel its malevolence, the weight of despair pressing against her chest. But as the tendrils reached for her, she remembered the strength of her allies, the beings who had fought alongside her. "Not again," she whispered, steeling her resolve. "I won't let you win." With a determined breath, she reached out to the portal, feeling the pulsing energy beneath her fingertips. The beings were out there, and she needed them now more than ever. "Help me!" she cried, her voice echoing in the chamber. As if responding to her plea, the portal shimmered, and the beings emerged from the light, their forms aglow with vibrant colors. They formed a protective circle around Rachel, their energy coalescing into a barrier of light. "We will stand with you," one of them declared, its voice ringing with conviction. "Together, we will banish the Shadow once and for all." The Shadow recoiled at the sight of the light, but its fury only intensified. It lashed out, tendrils whipping through the air like vipers. "You cannot defeat me," it howled, a cacophony of voices woven into one. Rachel focused on the light within her, recalling the power they had wielded during their previous battle. "We are the light," she shouted, drawing strength from the beings around her, "and we will not be afraid." With a collective surge of energy, Rachel and the beings unleashed a brilliant wave of light towards the darkness. The air crackled with electricity, and the ground trembled beneath them as their combined power collided with the shadow. A blinding explosion of colour erupted in the chamber, illuminating the darkness and sending shockwaves through the air. Rachel could feel the warmth of the light enveloping her, pushing back against the despair that threatened to consume her. But the shadow fought back, swirling and shifting, trying to regain its footing. "You are weak," it roared, its voice echoing with fury. "You cannot stand against me." Rachel's heart raced as she felt the shadow's influence creeping into her mind, whispering doubts and fears, but she pushed back, focusing on the bond she had forged with the beings. "We are stronger together," she shouted, her voice ringing with conviction. The beings rallied around her, their voices merging in a powerful chant that resonated with the essence of the universe. "Light will prevail. We are one." With renewed determination, Rachel gathered her strength, channeling the energy of her team and the beings into one final, devastating blast. "For our worlds," she cried, releasing the energy in a magnificent surge. The explosion of light engulfed the chamber, radiating outward as the shadow screamed in fury. The tendrils writhed and twisted, but they could not withstand the onslaught of pure light. Rachel felt a surge of triumph as the darkness began to dissipate, fading into nothingness. In that moment, she realized they had triumphed. The combined power of their alliance had shattered the shadow, banishing it from their realms forever. As the light faded and the echoes of the battle subsided, Rachel collapsed to her knees, breathless but filled with a sense of peace. The beings gathered around her, their forms shimmering in gratitude and relief. "You have freed us from the shadow," one of them said, its voice like music to her ears. "You are our champion, and we will forever honor your bravery." Rachel looked up, tears in her eyes. "We did this together. Our worlds are forever linked now." As the portal pulsed behind them, she knew that they had forged an unbreakable bond, a legacy of light that would endure through the ages. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but Rachel understood that their journey was just beginning. In the days that followed, they worked to solidify their alliance. The beings shared their knowledge of energy manipulation and interdimensional travel, and Rachel's team provided insights into the science of their portal. Together, they delved into the mysteries of the universe, exploring the depths of their respective worlds. Back on Earth, the story of their victory reverberated through the scientific community, igniting a passion for exploration and collaboration. Rachel and her team became ambassadors of peace between their worlds, fostering understanding and cooperation. As they looked towards the future, Rachel felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, united by their experiences. The challenges ahead would not be easy, but with the bond they had forged, she knew they could overcome anything. Standing by the portal, she gazed into the shimmering light, filled with hope for the future. Together, they had created a new dawn, a legacy of courage and unity that would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. "Together," she whispered, feeling the warmth of the beings surrounding her. "We are unstoppable."